Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, or closer to you depending on what continent you're on, there lived a little boy who dreamed what little boys dream of at his age: catching frogs in the nearest pond, playing kickball with his friends, and total and complete world domination. Wait, what? Okay, well maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but these next few minutes will not be. We'll discover the life of Vladimir Putin as a child, his early teens growing up, and where he's at today. Be sure to stick around to the end to find out some interesting facts about the man who would eventually cause a whole world to take notice of him, both fearing and respecting him at the same time. Be sure to follow along, comment, like, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more updates, and join us for the next Liber-Tea. Our story begins in the rich historical city of Leningrad, which is now beautiful St. Petersburg in present-day Russia. Back then, Leningrad was in the USSR, and a small bouncing baby boy on October 7, 1952 was born. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. That's a mouthful. The family's lives were riddled with hardships and difficulty, but it is said that Putin, as a child, became a clever, tough street fighter, and he would build upon this in later years. It's no secret that he had a tough upbringing, and if you're not convinced, these few facts should help. Picture yourself as a young boy in these conditions. His mother, Maria Ivanovna Putina, worked in a factory, and his father, Vladimir Spiridonovich Putin, another mouthful, making a few rubles a day at a former wagon-making factory, was mandatorily drafted into the Soviet Navy on a submarine fleet in the early 1930s. He had two older brothers, Albert and Victor, who would die before Vladimir was born. Albert in infancy, and Victor of diphtheria, a serious infection that poisons the body. As a result, his parents became very protective of Vladimir, shielding him as much as they could. Wouldn't you? There are a few common facts about his studies as a young boy. When you imagine Putin now, his stern look, serious tone, and unshakable singularity, what is portrayed in the media today is very different than how he started out as a child. Although he became a champion in the Japanese martial arts of judo combination with wrestling, a combat sport called sambo, much to the disapproval of his big-hearted and kindly mother, on the opposite side, he was not a very well-behaved student. In 2006, in an old dusty attic of a house, someone found Putin's gradebook as an 11-year-old boy, and he is described as anything but smart in these younger years. Being raised by protective parents had its advantages at times. He threw chalkboard erasers at other students. He would talk and be disruptive during class and wasn't timely with his homework. But he would not remain this way for long. By high school, he was already showing great promise as he became more and more interested in academics. I'm sure to the relief of some of those earlier teachers. Too bad they're already long gone, or I'm sure they'd have some pretty interesting stories to tell. It is widely reported that although Putin was highly interested in German and history, and he was showing great aptitude in some pretty mind-bending fields like biology, can you imagine Putin slicing and dicing his way through a frog? Well, I guess we can now. His other studied interests were pretty general in the liberal arts, which is often a fancy way of saying he was interested in all sorts of otherworldly goings-on. In these years, he put on his scholar's cap and became a more serious, bona fide student, which included working a side job for the school's radio station. After he wrapped up his junior education, Putin put on his now well-used thinking cap and started considering his future, as all young men do at his age. The world was his oyster. The horizons were endless. What to do? Take over the world? Well, not just yet. What we do know is he wanted to be an intelligence officer, part of the KGB. But to do this, now equipped with smarts and know-how, he understood he'd need a college degree. So where does one go as a young, inspiring civil servant with a penchant for championship fighting and slicing and dicing interests? Why, Leningrad State University, of course, where he studied the fine career of law and graduated in 1975. From these years on, his remarkable achievements start to stack up, starting with landing an entry-level job with everyone's favorite well-known James Bond movie nemesis, the KGB, Moscow, Russia. He was only one of 100 in his class at Leningrad to land this prestigious position. Putin was well on his way, leaving behind his common life. The life, he reportedly said, taken from the Kremlin website in the biography section about his upbringing. "I come from an ordinary family. This is how I lived for a long time. I lived as an average, normal person, and I have always maintained that connection." Really, Vladimir? Since we're on this side of history, we already know this isn't actually the case, but we're answer seekers, right? So let's see where more of the early growing up Putin years, before his well-known antics of today, can be found. Digging through some old classified KGB document files, he was collectively known as meticulous and organized. You have to start somewhere to become the world's most notable social media face, and his peer reviewers are quoted to have said he was persistent in raising his ideological, political, and professional level. He was a great asset to his assigned department, foreign espionage, surprise, surprise, and he quickly rose from the rank of captain to major, specializing in personal recruitment, training in radio communication, and being a tour guide for interested visitors at the East German Dresden-based station, where he was now assigned. The beginning of 1985 was a good year for him. While David Bowie, Paul McCartney, and Madonna were spinning records, DJ Vladimir was spinning Russian creeds. From 1985 to 1989, much of Putin's career takes a turn toward the mysterious. Not much accurate is known about his time while he was a card-carrying part of the Stasi, the East German Ministry for State Security. Some of his more public activities are disputed, including a demonstration at the Stasi headquarters. One report says he was like a madman, waving a gun and terrorizing protesters. Another report claims he was calmly talking to activists in his now fluent German motherland tongue, seeking to bring peace and harmony. Will the real Putin please come forward? What is known is that since he held a membership card with the state security, he could go about his business, generally without much scrutiny from anyone, which in a few telling years would serve him well. We know today that Vladimir Putin will eventually become president and serve Russia for at least 16 years and counting. Join us for more Liber-Tea when we dive deeper into his modern-day career, and give us your facts and opinions on what you think of this somewhat mysterious, upfront man who would become a modern-day dictator.